Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Zach Celadonia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, half awake and coming to you one day after all the big Christmas festivities, Christmas Eve being a real big one here for Steelers Nation. And joining me to talk about that today, Boxing Day, a happy Boxing Day to all of our friends that may be listening in the great up north Canada. I think it's the great up north, whatever that might be. But joining us to talk about that, who might blame a different Canada here or there. One is Zach Flash Celadonia. Don't you like how I did that, Zach? What's going on, man? How was Christmas and everything for you?
Oh, I love wordplay. I'm a big dad joke guy, but Christmas was great for me. Did you get everything you wanted this year, man?
No, not yet though,
No?
because I still gotta, you can't ask for much. You start to get up there in age, and it's not the same, kind of deal. You don't necessarily get, you're lucky if you get anything at a certain point here, right? And I'm very cognizant of that when I'm thinking about my mom or my uncle or somebody like that. I try to hook them up. So,
Yeah.
but we still have to exchange gifts. They haven't gotten their stuff just quite yet. Some of that schedule related, some of that weather related, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, spent my Christmas Eve freezing my nads off at Acrisure. It was actually I was a little toasty because I had about 80 layers on and a pint of apple pie moonshine in my system coursing through my veins, brother. And it's just like it didn't really hit you until almost the fourth quarter. It actually got warmer as the game went on. I think it kicked off, it was like 9 degrees, then it was like 13. It was like, wow, this is a heat wave. But I don't think I've ever used so many boot warmers, so many hand warmers, so many. The stories about the beer freezing, my Yingling was a slush almost as soon as you cracked that sucker open. And I was squeezing out of it. It was like an icy. I wanted to go get a straw. I felt
That
like
can
I
be
needed a
kind of
straw.
good if it's the right concoction. If you had like a sweet drink, I bet it was pretty good, like a White Claw or something.
Yeah, I think I wonder if a White Claw with the alcohol content, it would probably turn into slush too. It wouldn't turn into 100% because it's water based. I wonder if it'd be like an ice block. That it could have been a weapon. Like I could have thrown that at somebody and seriously injured someone. That thing, it was. I got most of it out of there though. For your $10 beer, I'm like, nah, I gotta get that out of there.
Sip out of that.
Yeah, you got to get your money's worth, man. But
And
otherwise,
beating the little aluminum tab thing on the top too.
yeah, I kept hitting that, trying to see if I could get a little extra out of the can. It's like the pint can too. So, yeah, I mean, we're looking around for our buddy Jamal. He's the beer vendor that's up, on the opposite side, behind the Steelers bench, I should say, if you're ever on that side. He's always posting on Twitter and stuff. I don't know. He went in early, cold. I don't know where he went. I was looking for him, but I didn't really get in that stadium. I'm like, don't need to be there early for any specific reason. I got in there for introductions, but man, whew, that was a cold one, a real cold one. And things could have went a lot worse here for the Steelers, but we have a victory Monday, still a victory Monday because we took a day off for the holidays, for Christmas holidays. A happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everyone out there watching and listening as well as I ramble and stumble and bumble through this. A little bittersweet on Christmas Eve. I heard some of the folks that watch the NFL Network got cut a little short on the Franco deal with the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, but they brought the team out there, all the surviving team, those who can make it. Jack Lambert, man, he just stays in recluse. He's like a recluse, like a hermit or something. He wasn't there, but just about everybody else. Very emotional moment for a lot of people. Art Rooney, if you didn't hear it, led off his little speech for it, was kind of to the effect of, this isn't the way we intended for this to go, or this wasn't the way it was supposed to go. So a little bit of bittersweet moment out there, but a great tribute, I think, for Franco, particularly when you finish with a score of the Steelers having 13 points and a victory over the Raiders. I thought that was pretty cool. So
It was. And the game ending on the 32-yard line with 32 seconds left. Did you
Uh,
hear about that?
yeah, I thought that was a little bit of it wasn't 32 seconds. I'm gonna pull up the game book because
When you
maybe
let the ball go, it was 32 seconds.
okay. Yeah, I think the play went off at like the 34. I think it was recovered like on the 34. Somebody like made that try and like line up a little more, I think, than what it actually was. But honestly, I was too busy to rewatch the game with all of the Christmas
You just don't have
festivities.
any child wonderment left in you.
No, I have plenty of child wonderment left in me, but I don't know. There was something else with that too. There was a couple 32s that were thrown in on that, but the final score was that was kind of the icing on the cake. And Charlie Batch actually predicted that in the pregame, which was
Oh yeah,
kind of silly too. Yeah,
he
he
would know. He's been a part of a lot of 13-10 matchups.
not always on the winning side either.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. The people call in and they're just like, Charlie, you're the greatest. You're the greatest backup quarterback ever to play for the Steelers, and I'm just kind of like, I wouldn't call in and say that to that dude. It's like, you're second place or runner up to whatever. Yeah, like I feel like it's like insult, like it's a compliment and an insult at the same time. Like it's passive aggressive to some nature, and
Oh yeah, it's very
yeah.
backhanded for sure.
I feel like it can be, but that's where we should go when it comes to talking about quarterbacks, backhanded, and everyone who thought that Kenny Pickett couldn't be the man. Little birdie, little rumor has it. I know you want to take off with this. That one Kenneth Pickett called all his plays on the final drive. Ay caramba. I mean, how else can you draw that up? Game-winning touchdown drive led by Kenny Pickett, calling all of his own plays. It seems like everything that works with the Steelers offense has worked well when these quarterbacks are just left to their own devices, including Mitch Trubisky, for that matter, over the last 2-3 seasons. So what have you say about Kenny Pickett leading the Steelers to victory in those final moments, man? I thought that was pretty damn sweet, all considering all the other stuff that was going on in a game that was actually quite just it just dragged. And we talk about boring from the week before. Imagine being there frozen, and it just goes back and forth, and it's like, man, can somebody do something? And I really thought that the Steelers were going to do something the drive before that, and when they gave the ball back, and I'm just like, man, Mike Tomlin was just counting on defense to do something, get that splash play or whatever. I'm like, I hope they can get the ball back and do something with it, and they were able to.
Yeah, a couple times, but the end of the game was awesome, man. It was so great, a very relieving feeling, an exciting feeling. I thought before the Steelers scored the final touchdown, I thought to myself, I haven't been this excited or nervous about a game like all year, really. Going into a couple of them, sure, Kenny's first start, the first game of the year, but it's been a very weird season, and the emotions that I used to feel like watching Ben and the Steelers were back. I felt like the game meant something. It felt like this was a pivotal moment in Kenny Pickett's career and George Pickens' career. But it was so great to see him come back from the bad interception he had and a couple of the misfires. I saw a couple of people refer to it as possibly, and I don't agree with this, his worst game of the season. And he had a couple misses for sure. There was a bad miss to Deontay over the middle. It was high. The interception, which I already mentioned. But there were a couple of drops too. Freiermuth had a huge drop earlier in the game, and I'm a big Freiermuth guy. I think he's playing like a top 5 tight end this year. But Kenny put it where it needed to be, down by the end zone on the inside shoulder, and it bounced off of Freiermuth's 2 hands. And Kurt Warner was like, that's one Kenny might want back. I was like, want it back, dude. He wasn't the one who dropped it, and perspective is everything with a lot of these plays. And he also had another drop by Deontay Johnson at one point, more towards the middle of the game, that was a laser towards the middle of the field for what looked to be about a 15-yard gain. And he had Green in front of him to run further, Deontay Johnson, I mean. So there were certainly mistakes by Kenny Pickett in the first half and in the third quarter. Conditions certainly mattered. I think that affected not only him throwing the ball, but receivers catching the ball. It's not easy to catch the ball when it's that cold outside. It's like throwing around a boulder because it's so hard. It's just a different feel out there. And I don't even need to make excuses for Pickett because he came back and did it himself with that final drive. 7 of 9, 75 total yards, 138.4 rating, touchdown to end it out. And that is, I mentioned the emotions I was feeling earlier about watching this game, and in particular that last drive or the last few drives with the nervousness and the not being able to sit down and stuff that I would feel watching Ben and the Steelers over the past few years. Well, another emotion that I think I felt start to bud and grow was that, you watch guys like Ben or Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, whoever, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, when they have the ball with a minute left, 45 seconds left, a minute and a half, whatever, 2 minute drill basically,
Yeah.
to go and try to win the game. As a fan, because we can speak from knowing from Ben, as a fan, you feel like not 100% confident, but you feel like you have like a really, really good chance, almost 100% confident. You're like, Ben's got this, Peyton's got this, whoever. Like it's part of being a franchise quarterback is having that clutch gene. And this was the first time that after we scored, it was like, okay, Kenny can be one of these guys, man, because it's. Do you have the gamer in you to be able to step up in the big moments and the bright lights? He played his best he did on the last drive. And of course, you want him to play better throughout the entire course of the game. But this was a huge step for his career in confidence. And I think it was a huge step from a fan perspective and confidence in Kenny Pickett. I'm only speaking for myself, but now I feel like if the situation arises again this year, like against the Ravens or a different opponent, and there's a minute, 2 minutes left to go and win the game, I feel like Kenny can do that. And I feel like I have a right to feel that way after what he showed. And same goes for George Pickens. The moment wasn't too big for him either. Stepped up huge, and this could be a connection we're going to see in Pittsburgh for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the deal with Pickens, and I'm going to go back to a couple of things here. And it sounds like you did. I didn't get to ask you, but it sounds like you did get everything you wanted for Christmas just based on this game.
I always get everything I want, dude. I'm an only child and Italian.
Oh, well, I'm only child also, but you know, just come back at me at 10 years and see if you're still getting everything you want too, especially with the home and the dogs and the lady and everything else. The world would go upside down, especially if you're married with children. So you'll be just like Al Bundy talking about scoring 4 touchdowns in one game. That's it. Glory days are over, man.
Oh yeah, man. Hey,
So,
I had a 51-yard catch from the new offensive coordinator of Texas State, Mac Leftwich. Shout out.
well, my biggest sports achievement would be scoring 29 points in an 8th grade basketball game, which I think there are only like 8-minute quarters or something. I scored exactly half of our team's points in a 5-point win. They actually fouled the crap out of me, and I remember they took me over you have to take the free throws still, right? And they actually taped around from my thumb underneath my elbow because something got cut like here with a Band-Aid, and I basically was throwing free throws with one hand and still made them. I was like unstoppable that day. It was one of those things you never forget about, the glory days, right?
Glory days, dude.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
glory
You're
days.
talking to. I can talk for hours about how cool I was in high school and middle school.
Yeah. I had some fun ones too. Over a whole bunch of different stuff, and even playing like a backyard football with friends and stuff like that, rough and tumble.
Bro, dude, listen. How about like fresh out of like high school? I think it was our second or third year. Me and all my friends being graduated from high school. We got together for a turkey bowl, and I was the first overall pick. Never gonna forget that.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, we used to play basketball, and dude behind me had like a pretty large driveway, and he had like the hoop with the chain net and everything on it, and that. And
Oh yeah, old school.
we used to have full 5-on-5 with people who had game waiting after that. And I remember times where I'd be picked first and then times where I wouldn't. But I grew up in a neighborhood where everybody was like 3-4 years older than me. I had Mr. Ohio in football live right next door to me. That dude was like good at every single sport. So
Who was it?
his name was Sean Penny. He ended up going
Okay.
to Ohio State. Believe he got hurt, but his dad, I think, also played for the Buckeyes. That was many, many years ago, so it would have been around 2000 or whatever for anybody.
Legacy kind of guy.
Yeah. Oh, athlete and a half, man. So when you got dudes like that could just like dunk on you at will and stuff, it really. But I was gonna say, like, you're talking turkey bowl. When we play rough and tumble, and there was like a garage and we made of the concrete cinder blocks right next there. That was in bounds. We used to live for just tackling and spearing people into the garage wall. And if you could survive the garage wall and score a touchdown, then you were good. But that was all
Back
fun.
when you could like fall off a roof and not feel any pain.
Yeah, I just saw a meme the other day that said, if our parents actually knew where and how far we did take our bicycles, like we would have been in some serious deep trouble. But yeah, the number one, let me go back to, so we're talking about memes and everything like that. The 32 thing, since it's right up here with the Pickett to Pickens, that's going to be tough to say, but I'm going to get used to it a lot. That was 2nd and 10. Derek Carr, of course, intercepted, intended for Hunter Renfrow. The play started at 36 seconds. Cam Sutton ended up with it at the Pittsburgh 34 for no gain. And then there was an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for 15 yards enforced at the 34 right after that. So it might have been thrown at 32 seconds. You can give him about 4 seconds or something like that. The clock was stopped. There was an incomplete pass before that, but that was game over. Cam Sutton, the guy that I've been a huge stand for this entire season, seals the deal. And I felt that was awesome. They picked off Carr like 3 times in this game.
They better re-sign Cam Sutton, dude. We kind of need him to stick around. But yeah, Derek Carr 3 times. Kenny Pickett outplayed Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is viewed as, like we mentioned him before in a recent show, he's viewed as a good quarterback in most people's eyes, like medium of the road at least. And Kenny played better than him. Again, because I said this for Kenny, I'll say for Derek Carr, obviously the elements I think affected both of them. It affected most of the players on the field, but Kenny played better than Derek Carr.
Yeah, he did. Kenny Pickett, by the way, 26-39, 66.7 completed passes, 244 with a touchdown interception. That was at 81.6. If you want to look at Derek Carr's number, 16 of 30, 53.3 for 174. He finished with 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 42.2 quarterback rating. Raiders were unable to run the ball, 19 carries for 58 yards. Steelers top 100 once again, 27 total carries by the team for 106. They went to try and run that one play with Derek Watt again at one point, and I knew that was coming. And Najee Harris led everyone, only a 3.3 average, but still was getting it done. Still looks good out there for the most part.
That average can be so deceiving, man. I know that like numbers especially don't lie, but he looks so good out there now. I'm not concerned about the average.
Yeah. And I was going to say why is because situation football, they're just trying to get first downs in a lot of these cases. So an extra carry is going to knock out your average. He's just trying to move the chains, gain a yard or two, a chunk here or there. Jalen Warren, 6 for 23. It was a 3.8. Connor Hayward had the one for 21 yards.
You mean Zach Gentry?
Yeah.
Did you hear the broadcast? Rich Eisen's like, it's Gentry. Gentry's going. Gentry. Oh, I beg your pardon. That's Connor Hayward.
Oh, they screwed up all kinds of stuff. In fact, it was it this week's game that they kept calling Kenny Mitch Trubisky? He was calling somebody Mitch Trubisky that wasn't Mitch Trubisky.
I heard somebody mess up a couple times. Yeah. But that one was Rich Eisen. That was so funny. It's like, dude, they don't even look alike. Gentry's like 9 feet tall. Connor Hayward, he's built like a fire hydrant.
Yeah, he really is like a little pit bull. But Steelers, hey, another 100-yard game. That's what they needed in order to get it done. That final drive, 10 plays, 76 yards, only 2 minutes and 9 seconds. So they got the ball with 2:55 remaining. Kenny Pickett, 6-yard completion to Najee, short middle to the Freiermuth. I believe the next one's the one that gets reviewed right after the 2-minute warning for 10 yards.
That pass is not getting talked about enough, man. That was a great pass. He fitted in between the sideline and what looked like 12 inches of, I guess a foot then, 12 inches between the sideline and the defender where Freiermuth just scooped it off the turf. Great catch on Freiermuth's part. But Kenny was fitting it into some windows in the game versus the Raiders.
Yeah, absolutely. And Freiermuth, I agree with what you were saying earlier too. Like Freiermuth was, there were a couple passes that wouldn't have mattered if it was Trubisky or Rudolph even. They weren't doing Kenny enough favors in some cases where the offense was just stalling it with some execution stuff. And I know some people are going to pull their hair out if you even give mention that Matt Canada could be back next year, although I don't 100% believe that or advocating for it. The team, they said they were close, and we still don't know like if the offense is any good. That's the bad part, because there's still just a lot of it's low scoring,
Yeah, it's like
a
pulling
lot of
teeth every
failure.
week.
Yeah, and you'll get a lot of that when Kenny needs the full offseason. He needs to work with guys. He needs to get Deontay and go to Florida or California or wherever, Arizona or wherever the hell they want to go, where it's warmer weather in February, and pitch the old football around. And since they're both under contract, they should be able to do that with ease. And these guys work out with other guys they went to college with, or friends of friends of friends of friends, right? So
Yeah.
back onto this. After that, it was an incomplete pass to Najee, which actually that was the one that hit. It was like beneficial to the Steelers.
Yeah.
Oh, 2 plays later, actually, because Najee, they started going after him. This was the worst team defending against running backs catching the football in the league. They were the worst against it. And Denzel Perryman left this game. Denzel Perryman's a hell of a middle linebacker, and he wasn't in there. So it's like finally somebody woke up and said, start throwing the ball to Najee. And this is what's been missing. A lot of people, it's like, what's been missing? What's been missing? Le'Veon Bell, we used to call wide receiver 2. We used to call him a wide receiver 2. That dude was trying to get paid like a wide receiver at one point, and he had like probably 100 some targets a few of those seasons in the middle there.
Absolutely. And Najee had like 70 catches last year,
and he just hasn't been on the same pace whatsoever this season. I'll actually even pull it up, but within the context of this, there was three different times in a row here. It was all passes, but they got Najee involved. Now this one would have lost 2 yards. It also would have kept the clock running, but they ended up rolling an incomplete pass, reset the game clock, and that was actually beneficial to the Steelers that play, which stunk to high heaven, didn't end up in an actual completion.
Yeah, that was the one time that I was a little bit on Kenny for the check down stuff. I never really get on him, or there's a lot of quarterbacks I kind of don't get on, depending on the situation with who they're throwing to whenever they check it down, because I understand getting Najee the ball in space, especially when he's left wide open. But that throw looked like the dude was beating down on him instantly from the Raiders, like he was about to get lit up. So I didn't agree with that particular check down on the drive. But the rest of the throws to Najee, how can you pass those up? They're leaving him by himself on the television screen. Brian Baldinger broke it down already, and he's like, they're just not covering him out of the backfield. Look at this, wide open, bang, 10 yards. And he had the nice finish on the one where it looked like there were 3 Raiders. There were 2 right on the first down marker and another one a little farther back. Najee just like splits the 2, runs right through him, and the third and fourth one are the ones that get him down eventually. So Najee's running with a lot of confidence and is showing once again that he's great with the ball in his hand in space. So checking it down to Najee, it can be frustrating when you're like, oh, just throw it down the field more, just stop checking it down. But when the guy gets it and goes for 10, and then you see him get it again and go for 10 more, what's wrong with that? Especially when you end the game with whatever it was, like 25-yard dagger to George Pickens in the middle of the field. There's your throw down the field.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. That ends up getting set up. They have a 4th and 1, and just like Kenny lay out, has been very successful. I'm trying to think. Somebody went in a jet sweep motion right behind him and kind of did the whole push the quarterback.
It was
from
Boykin.
Behind. Was it Boykin?
Yeah, because he looks over at him and does the foot thing to like say go in motion or come over here. Mm-hmm. And Boykin there didn't see or something, because he did it again, and that like told me that like he's asking for his help to push him, I think.
Yeah, either he didn't go or he brought him back. It was one or the other.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, had it coursing through my veins, the alcoholic beverage. Well, it was pretty worn out by then. I was worn out entirely. Like my eyeballs. If I could have wore ski goggles, I would have, just to protect my eyeballs.
There was the guy with those on in the front row with the Santa beard on. He had a Santa beard and the goggles.
Really should. I really like you need everything in your arsenal to get through some of those. Now, when you're out there running around with adrenaline and everything else, actually, that's a pretty good point. But let me finish this one. I saw Pickens line up on the inside slot, and I saw Connor Hayward next to him. And I think Deontay over on the far end, on the outside of the numbers. And as soon as I started looking at them come out and line up, I said, that ball is going to George Pickens. There ain't no way. Is they just been attacking. Here's a team, Matt Canada. Oh, they don't go to the middle of the field. They don't throw the middle of the field. And you're hitting Najee multiple times as a running back. Now all of a sudden, you're going to line up Pickens in the slot. He's already a matchup nightmare. That is you cannot defend against that play. And I said, all it's got to be is a quick slant in, and that's a touchdown. I'm like, this is going to Pickens, and I'll be damned if it didn't go to Pickens. Feel like a genius, sound like a genius. But,
it was a beautiful play. And I was sitting there actually like in my head, like, because I wasn't talking to myself, which I do sometimes. It's not that weird. I was sitting
No,
there
it's
and I was
not.
like,
But do
man,
you
I just
answer
want to see
yourself? You answer
what.
yourself. Do you answer yourself too?
Yes,
Okay, well, that's the weird part.
I have full blown conversations, dude, and I'll debate myself like internally and externally.
Little.
But I'm sitting there watching Kenny, and I'm like, man, I want to see what like there've been moments this year. There were moments in preseason where like he just looked like there was decisiveness to his throws down the field, and I was craving it. I was craving it bad in the fourth quarter, and that throw to Pickens was so clean, so precise. He got it right on the numbers, right where it needed to be. Threw it on time. I saw some people saying he was wide open. He wasn't wide open because George did beat his coverage. Like there was a corner on him and a guy behind. I couldn't tell if it was zone or man. I really couldn't, but he beat that coverage just fine. There was an open, but there was a safety towards the middle of the field that Kenny had to freeze just long enough. And he mentions this in his post-game presser. He tried to look at Fryermuth for just a second to stop the safety. And when you run that play back, you can see him do that, go right back to Pickens, fire it in there. And the safety who gets frozen, he literally stumbles over and falls, like extending his one hand, just hardly missing the ball. So that wasn't as easy of a throw as some people have made it out to be. It was a very big time throw.
Yeah, it was. Did you happen to catch any of the Rams game yesterday, Christmas Day?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, I had Rams first quarter money line. I had a couple.
Of course.
I had the over hit in the first half, dude. Cigar game.
Why don't I even ask? You know, I should know who I'm talking to. But that's all Tony Romo talked about was how Sean McVay was teaching Baker Mayfield with his eyes, use his eyes, use his eyes, use his eyes.
Yeah, Tony knows what he's talking about. I've said before, I love Tony Romo. It's getting hard out here for Tony Romo supporters because the new cool thing is to say, oh, he's not that good, he's overpaid. I enjoy when Tony Romo's on the call and he knows ball.
Yeah. Oh, he knows ball. Definitely. Oh, man, they all get paid a very nice sum, especially Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, man. They got moved over. Whew, I forgot what was it. For some reason in my head, I'm thinking like 13 million, but imagine they're making more, some of these guys. Maybe not Romo. Romo still got the bag. They were still putting out some money when he was playing. But like Aikman, compared to like the dollars today that he would be making, he's making more now probably in the booth than he was when he was playing, which is really crazy to think about with a guy that has 3 rings, you know? So,
coaches too, because that's the thing that people keep bringing up with Sean McVay is like he could make like $100 million or something crazy on TV. And as a coach of the Rams, he makes like 5 a year or less. I don't know what he makes. It's not that much. Coaches don't make as much as people think.
It depends. I mean, Matt Rule was getting paid an awful lot of money, and
I guess John Gruden. Well, yeah, if you're dumb, but Tomlin's salary isn't that high.
I think Tomlin's probably up there though. I think he probably makes about 7 a year. I would
really.
think,
I want to say 3.5.
Oh, I don't think it's that low. I don't think so.
Look it up.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a way that they actually. I don't know if they make that public knowledge. I think they just say. I'm going to look this up. It's going to say Mike Tomlin contract. You know it's going to happen. I'm going to get all these clickbait sites that say everything about should Mike Tomlin be extended. It looks like Mike Tomlin rumor or insider. So actually, here's one here. It says this is from October of this year. Steelers head coach makes about $11.5 million per year. So I was off.
Okay, he makes good money.
Yeah, is tied for 5th.
I was wrong.
Yeah, tied for 5th among highest paid coaches in the United States. It just says highest paid coaches. Doesn't actually say. But see, then there's something here in see, it's looking back like 2010. See, this is where we would have got that kind of idea. Spot Rack, which is like a kind of like an over the cap type site.
Yeah,
so they have a lot of this same information on here too. So let me see. If it says, see, they got all these players listed instead of like Mike Tomlin, 3 years. See, they don't have the actual data here.
It's all right. I mean, you already kind of like the 11.5.
If it's accurate.
High.
Yeah, if it's accurate. But I'm saying he's got to get something because when he sees other people, it's that Christian Kirk contract effect. And then Tyreek Hill's like, show me the money. And AJ Brown's like, show me the money. And all these wide receivers after that. It goes the same way with these coaches. It's not like Mike Tomlin is going to hold anybody hostage over it or anything like that. But I guarantee like him, Andy Reid, Belichick, Pete Carroll, McVay, these guys are all there. McDermott's probably up there now too. Some of them get hired right in. Urban Meyer probably got paid a stupid amount of money last year also, but these are all good points when it comes to, because a lot of us were talking into the future of the Steelers, right? And this, even Stan and Charlie, and they're, shout out to them for doing this like at midnight Christmas Eve. Like, they could certainly be doing better things than the Steelers post-game show and taking callers who still, some of them can't even be happy with the victory. But they were talking about the core nucleus of the Steelers, and even though the offense still doesn't have maybe a full identity on what they were able to do, because who's the oldest player that's out there on this team? Isn't it like James Daniels, who's only in his first year with the Steelers?
On offense?
Yeah, on offense.
Derek I would Watt? I would guess, yeah, I was going to say Derek Watt, James Daniels, and then Mitch, but he doesn't start.
Yeah, I guess you could say even Mitch, but I mean, even age and NFL experience wise, you've got a lot of guys that are only a few years into this thing, if that. And you're looking at Pickett and you're looking at Pickens, first year NFL players. They're freaking rookies. Najee Harris is a second year player. Pat Freiermuth is a second year player. All
of which Tomlin mentioned by jersey number in his presser, being like, can't say enough about 8, love 14, 88, 22. Like, that's when you know the coach likes you, when he's addressing you by jersey number to the media and saying, like, this was big for all of them because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's a big stepping stone, and it's just great for confidence and to show you as a player that you can do this and you can win games like this when you play to this level.
So the Steelers' playoff hopes are actually still alive, and there's still a lot of things that have to happen. And I think you may have even been the one to retweet this. I'm not sure who actually put it out there, but they said, every year I go home for Christmas holidays and I have to explain to my dad how the Steelers don't have a chance at making the playoffs, and then they make me look stupid because they're in the conversation. Here we go again, right?
It was Benjamin Solak. Yeah, he
was it. Yeah, that's who it was.
He's an Eagles fan, apparently, but his dad's a Steelers fan, so that's why he phrased it like that.
Yeah, he probably has to go to the other side of Pennsylvania and has to deal with Pops being in his ear about the Eagles and Steelers and whatnot. And I'm sure that's good, table conversation between both of those teams and fans. It's kind of like Brian. I think Brian's brother is an Eagles fan too. So our own Brian E. wrote. So he has a lot of stories like that. Like I said, half of my friends and family are Browns fans, which is just going to be fun enough to finish the season ahead of those clowns.
I've been a low-key Eagles fan before because I was a fan of when Vic was there. Deshaun Jackson's one of my all-time favorite players. Brian Dawkins was sick. Like, they've had players over the years that have made me want to watch them and root for them. So I'm kind of like a fan, low-key.
I could have swore you were going to say it was because of Mark Wahlberg being
no, dude.
in that movie Invincible.
Isn't he problematic these days?
I don't know. Is he? I don't know. I think those guys are pretty bulletproof. They got the burger place. Anything they touch, man, they make money.
He's just so fucking corny whenever he like talks about the Patriots or like Tom Brady. Like that video of him fucking hugging Tom Brady after the Super Bowl, and he's just looking him in the eyes, and he's like, "You're the greatest of all time. All time. You're the greatest." It's so weird to see that. And how do you get on the field?
Yeah, he's probably got passes. Dude, these guys live in another world compared to you or I. You know what I mean? I go on the field, I'm in jail in a cold cell somewhere, probably in like West Newton or something. Like, so
concussion from the security team that just leveled you to get you off the field.
Yeah, Connellsville. They got me in a basement somewhere, never to be seen again. So it's like but the Steelers are still in this thing, and they went from like a 2% chance to like almost about 18% now, almost edging on 20%. And I know some things still have to happen. We still have a Monday night game as we're recording that hasn't been played yet, but their playoff chances are still alive. And there's still folks out there that are like, oh, I don't want to see them unless they have a chance of winning a ring. Why do we want to see them in the playoffs? Man, you just don't know. You go into somewhere like Kansas City where it's equally crappy weather, and like you were saying, the ball is like, it's a rock. And I think that had part of what to do with Chris Boswell missing, and not to mention the wind was swirling. There's definite wind. The wind is crazy, and you've got the hot, cold aspect in the swirl. And I was telling you off the air, the old Dr. Buckler from Youngstown State weather classes, cold air comes from Canada, warm air comes from Mexico, and it swirls around and does all that. You could see that. Like, if you're in the stadium, the ball just like, it's like there's the old man cloud that just blows with its cheeks in one direction, and it doesn't go the way you want it. And I know it's frustrating because it's like those are points that were left on the board. Either maybe those drives stalled and you still don't get the 3 points, and that's what you were trying to settle on. But either way, they leave some points on the board. It doesn't mean you can't compete with some teams. I know everybody in a fantasy land, if they were to make the playoffs, I understand that they're not considered by any means to be a favorite, but it doesn't mean they can't play spoiler to some degree too. But there's so
It's
many
football.
people.
It's
Yeah.
football. Like
just gotta
that's
get in.
why, as somebody who has a not gambling problem, underdogs win a lot.
Call
They're
1-888.
fun.
We'll call 1-888.
1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Underdogs win all the time. Like, I know that there's a reason there's odds and not, but we could totally play spoiler, especially with the way this defense has been playing. If this is the defense that shows up, I firmly believe, I'm tripling down on this take, that Cam Hayward was playing injured throughout early parts of the season because he's been on an absolute terror lately.
Yeah.
TJ Watt again is looking healthier. This defense can help play spoiler. And if the offense continues to grow and build continuity, that's another good point, or not good. It's another good thing to get into the playoffs with the young guys, to get them playoff experience and show them what it takes to try and win a playoff game. Go in someone else's building, beat them, beat who people believe is a better team than you. Because I'm sure if we did make it to the playoffs, if we were playing pretty much any team in the AFC that would be there, it's going to be the meme. Like, everybody on TV is going to pick whatever team we're playing against to win. And if the Steelers can go into a game like that and win, it would be huge for the development of the young guys, and just great to see for the city.
And another hell of a coaching job by Mike Tomlin as well.
There you go.
Here we are. He's still in this.
$11.5 million a year is worth it.
Yeah, that's right. He's still in this, and for everybody who said everything, he left you with a happy, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and left you with a whole bunch of smiles. He gave you a gift of a win. They now have a game that's been flexed in Baltimore to a Sunday night game. Man, I was actually kind of eyeballing doing that, but I don't know now. That's going to be a madhouse of a place. They got to go into there and try and do something. You still don't know. It's like did some little birdie speak in someone's ear that Lamar is going to start practicing again. I don't know if that may be the case. But
I think it's just the allure of Steelers Ravens, like this, the fact that we're alive at all, and the Ravens are too. Obviously, it's just like we're the best rivalry, like top three, unarguably, in sports, and the best rivalry in football, I would say, outside of Ohio State, Michigan. So I think that it makes a lot of sense that we got flexed. A lot of people are pissed about it, but at least we're a good night team under Mike Tomlin over the past 15, 20 years. The Steelers show up under the big lights, and they play well for most of the time. So I don't hate it. It's just going to be a bitch waiting all day for it to come along again, just like the past game, where this is how messed up my mind is. I need to hurt myself. I need to feel pain. I thought about, wow, what if Kenny would have thrown an interception on the last drive? Or what if that throw to George Pickens bounced off of Pickens' hands? Like, I think about that stuff, and I was like, man, Christmas would have been ruined. That would have been it. I would have been miserable yesterday throughout a duration of the day until I got at least anywhere from 5 to 7 drinks in me.
Yeah, but if you get that many drinks in you on New Year's Eve now you can sleep in. You don't have to be up for the one. I know you still will be. Place your bets earlier, Zach, before you start the New Year's Eve festivities, maybe, or you're going to end up with like some crazy kind of like parlay that would have, I don't know, it would have been like Hunter Renfrow with like 4+ catches and.
Dude, Christian Watson, I had him at 49.5 yards yesterday over in a 4-leg parlay. He got hurt at 49 yards. Everybody else did their part. I had Tyreek Hill over 90. Jeff Wilson, anytime touchdown. Jeff Wilson over 40 yards rushing. And then Christian Watson over 49.5 yards. He got hurt at 49. So, like, you're speaking a language I understand.
You need a stat correction. I don't know if stat corrections work in the betting world, though. So we'll see.
And people think they fix the over and under. How do you fix a player getting hurt on a 4-leg parlay? That I don't understand. That's just shitty luck. Yeah. I did do well this weekend, though. I had a lot of winners picked out. Saints, Packers, Chiefs in the spread, Bengals in the spread. I did pretty well, actually, for a change.
Yeah, it just goes back to show you. And I was going to say this. I meant to say this to Brian on the previous show because we were talking about like chances and all these things that need to happen. And it's like, look at last year. You had to have the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Indianapolis Colts in Jacksonville, which they've done successfully, but nobody was giving them a chance, a snowball's chance in hell to win
How
that game.
soon you forget?
Yeah, how soon you forget. And many years ago, there was a very similar set of circumstances leading into these final games, and the Steelers just missed the window because Kansas City sat all of their starters against what was the San Diego Chargers at that time. And it was like Chase Daniels was playing. And all of a sudden, it's like you needed Kansas City to win, right? And Kansas City started kicking their ass. Niall Davis, backup running back, if you remember him, he had a short cup of coffee in training camp with the Steelers. And it almost happened. They blew a call on a game-winning field goal. I believe there were two different set of circumstances with field goals. One, I think, that set the game into overtime, and then the one that was the game winner by the Chargers that eliminated the Steelers from the playoffs because the Chargers had to win to get in. And the referees, of course, didn't do their job, but it's a actual fact that you can go back and look in just about every single season. If the Steelers weren't in the postseason, they were the very first team out of it. Mike Tomlin always has them right at the line. That's why the standard there.
I know that after the year before they went to 7 teams, the year before that, we were the 7th team, the hypothetical 7th team, and that was the Mason Rudolph, Duck Hodges year. So we were a playoff team by today's standards with Mason and Duck.
Yeah, and they still have. That's why this team's still a very good core foundation, regardless if they make it or not. I know people are thinking about what order they're going to be in the draft, and that one that irritates me to no end, dude. Because when I go through. Here, I'll give you an example of some of the first round picks and what numbers.
Joe doesn't like draft talk, everybody. Everybody relax.
Well, no. It's like people want a top 10 pick. They want the team to stink, so they pick a top 10 pick. Because top 10 picks are absolutely...
I thought you meant you just don't like people talking about who we might, pick. Because it's so hard not to do that, dude. It's just like thinking of, next Christmas. It's thinking about what you want next. I can't fault the people for doing that. But as far as wanting to tank to get a high pick, I understand the frustrations there, especially because of how we're playing. But at least the Bears pick is going to be high. We're definitely going to have a high second pick.
Oh, Justin Fields killing me in my season-long fantasy. I was number 1 in both of my leagues, and I might lose both my semifinal games. And it was my fault for sitting. I sat Burrow against the Patriots just because it was at New England. And I was like, Fields, I think against Buffalo, I think this could be a shootout type game. Nope. Yeah, absolute opposite. But no,
dude, everybody does it, man. I'm telling you, I'm in the championship in one league. I started Zay Jones over Foreman, and Zay Jones, all the models, my models, the ESPN models, every website was like Zay Jones is the one. 4 out of 5 games, good games, developing chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. Dude, Trevor Lawrence didn't even know Zay Jones was on the field half the time. He didn't even look to that side that he was on of the formation. I was watching the whole game, and he scored 2 points for me. Foreman scored 20, and currently I'm ahead about 17 points, and he has Austin Eckler left. So if I lose because of that decision, it's gonna haunt me forever. It's just everybody does it in fantasy, because there's so much luck involved, man. Everything said Zay Jones was the play, and Foreman had just been. I mean, we stonewalled him. He just.
And both of those dudes, him and Chuba Hubbard, both had topped 100 and had a touchdown apiece too. That's just sick. It just goes to show you any given Sunday. I mean, Kansas City last year, before I get back to my draft spiel, TJ Watt single-handedly had the Steelers in the lead against the Chiefs before it all went to shit. So,
there was a 13 to 15 minute, almost the whole first quarter. I convinced myself that we're winning this thing.
There's hope. There's definite hope. But yeah, Kenny Pickett picked 20 overall. Najee 24th overall. It depends on what you think those players are going to end up being in their career. But TJ Watt was the 30th overall pick. But Dupree was 22. Shazier was 15. Jarvis Jones was a 17. DeCastro was 24th overall. Cam Hayward 31st. Pouncey 18th. Let's see. Lawrence Timmons was 15th. Antonio Holmes 25. Heath Miller 30th overall. Ben was 11, but wasn't that a trade or something? Or was Polamalu? Polamalu.
Sound like some good players.
16. So a lot of these. Casey Hampton 19. Okay, Plaxico was one of the last, if not the last top 10, other than Devin Bush, was at 8. But the year before that, Troy Edwards was picked 13. Alan Faneca was picked 26. So if you want to cherry pick whether or not players are going to be good or bad based on when and where they are drafted, who remembers Huey Richardson, 15th overall? Tim Worley, 7th overall. Tim Worley, man, that's like Tecmo Super Bowl, Super Nintendo days there. There was
These are real people, you're saying?
These were all Steelers draft picks. Yeah. I mean, like, Worley was supposed to be a good dude. You even had Tom Ricketts there, 24th overall. But you compare that to a team I'd like to rag on repeatedly, if not, well, they won't have a first-round pick for a very long time. But the Cleveland Browns, for example, okay? So they took Jedrick Wills, 10th overall. Okay. Baker Mayfield, Denzel Ward, 1 and 4. Myles Garrett, 1. They have the top overall pick in the draft because they were just absolutely terrible. Before that was Corey Coleman with their 15th pick. Danny Shelton, 12. Justin Gilbert, 8. With Johnny Manziel, 22. Barkevius Mingo, 6. Trent Richardson, 3rd overall. Phil Taylor, 21st. Joe Hayden was 7.
Steelers
Alex Mack,
good,
21.
Browns bad is the point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how extreme do you have to be in the top 10? Braylon Edwards was a 3rd overall pick, and in the year that Ben got drafted, Kellen Winslow was 6th overall. Being in that top 10 doesn't necessarily guarantee you anything when it comes to Super Bowl rings. So when I hear people, I see comments like, well, I wish they would just lose and then get a better draft pick because they have no chance of winning a ring. Yo, that's not necessarily the case here. We don't know that for sure. And it does nothing. Just think about like the psyche of this. If you believe in momentum,
have no respect for the vibes, dude. No respect for winning vibes and building continuity and chemistry in the locker room. That matters. A lot of stuff that you can't see matters in football. Whether or not you care about your teammates, whether or not you've grown with your teammates, and that winning helps that. Winning is like the water to the flower that is a young player's career. It helps it grow faster and better.
And they believe. And for a number of reasons, the Steelers, there's somebody that said TJ Watt has been ineffective this year.
Well, I mean, I said that he'd been like not good since his injury, but these past few games he's come back.
He still has crazy. Him and Cam Hayward, wouldn't you like to see at least try and do this for Cam? Ageless wonder. By the way, what is with Tyler Huntley making the Pro Bowl as an alternate? I mean, do you really think he deserves it over like Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, guys like that? But, oh man, Cam, do you think TJ Watt makes Cam a better player or helps Cam have more opportunities or helps Alex Highsmith have more opportunities and makes this whole defense go? Even if he doesn't necessarily get to the quarterback, the things he does, there was a play where he just knifed in on a run play. They couldn't do anything, and much to my detriment, Devontae Adams held in check, Josh Jacobs held in check. So I don't understand the people. It sounds like people that don't like losing want to see the Steelers lose. So they might not lose as much the next year because they just have a bunch of rookie players who might pan out to be better and then they win. That kind of logic just doesn't compute with me. I can't resonate. I can't reason with it. So I'm going to ride this because if they go into Baltimore, and they've been better on the road for whatever freaking reason, if they go into Baltimore and they're able against Pro Bowl alternate Tyler Huntley maybe, and there's a team that has struggled mightily on offense is the Baltimore Ravens. And if they can play like the defense that we've been seeing a lot better, I really do think then they have a chance to come home, invite Deshaun Watson into the house, who, you were talking about the hard footballs and everything like that. I don't think Deshaun Watson's too accustomed to playing with a frozen football. The molecules expand, everything like that. We were talking about the weather class stuff. We were talking about the science stuff off air. And it's like,
no, man, when he was like, pardon me, when people were trying to get Deshaun Watson to want to be traded to them, I remember hearing he wanted to go to a place that was like warm more often than cold. And then Cleveland decided to give him $1 billion. He's like, okay, I can buy a lot of that.
Yeah,
I can buy some heated seats with that.
Buy a heated vest or something that's there. But yeah, Kenny already plays with gloves.
Jacket.
Kenny already plays with 2 gloves, so he's got it built in. He's ready to go. He's had it as part of his repertoire for so long. So, but I mean,
he's got a visor now, dude. That's sweet. Love that.
I knew you would like that. But
that helmet looks ridiculous without a visor on because it's just like there's no top part. My brain can't get over the fact that those new helmets, there's no top part of the face mask. It's just like it's open. So like with a visor, it looks passable. Without, it looks ridiculous.
A lot of people wanted the gray, like the gray face mask, that
Oh,
face
that would have
masks
been cool.
with the jerseys. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was kind of I was like, yeah, that could be kind of sweet. They need to do something different like that. Some other people said they should have put 32 on the blank side of the helmet.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, something like that. So, but they all
I'm
wore
all
jerseys
for
in.
doing different things in individualism.
Yeah, but they all wore Franco jerseys in to the game, including Mike Tomlin at the post game, which was just phenomenal, phenomenal. The atmosphere, despite it being mostly empty, especially in the upper decks, and people being cold or having to leave early or whatever because it's the holidays, because the weather sucked. That was still one hell of an environment to be in. And you could tell that the players, they still feed off of it. And I'm going to share one more thing with, I mean, you weren't there in the stadium. You might not have been able to hear it. So, Renegade. People were talking about retiring Renegade. There's something happening out here with Journey, Don't Stop Believing. And it was played for the offense. And this was actually the drive before the game-winning drive. But damn near the whole crowd, whether it was alcohol-induced or not, was singing along to it, Don't Stop Believing. And it really feels like that is the anthem for this team and going forward. So don't
It works
stop
in all the
believing.
Christmas movies. Once you
Yes.
start singing, good things happen.
Yes, spreading holiday cheer for all here or something like that. I don't know I just bastardized the elf quote, but the only thing I know is it made out of sugar? Then yes. I say
Grinch
that
is the
about my
best
kid
movie
all
all
the time.
time.
What's
Jim
that?
Carrey's Grinch. That's my goat Christmas movie.
Which one was it?
Jim Carrey's Grinch.
Oh, that's not bad. See, I grew up with the cartoon Hole in Hole.
So did I, but the cartoon's a half hour long. Jim
Yeah.
Carrey gives you a full cinematic experience.
I love that. The whole cinematic experience. You put me on the spot. I would have to think what would be, because I watched so
Well, I
many of
thought a
them.
lot about this because I got in like arguments on Twitter, people talking about Christmas Vacation is awesome, and I would say that's probably 2 in my book, but The Grinch is just timeless. There's adult humor in it, there's child humor in it. Obviously, it's for kids, but like it's still entertaining to this day. There's moments that some people cry, not me, some. And there's good songs. It's a great movie from start to finish because it gives you everything. There's character development. There's adversity. There's a really good climax. Pause. There's original songs, and you know that the devotion. Like Jim Carrey should have won an Oscar for his role in that. Not only because he is flawless in his role, and you forget you're watching a human being, but there's stories out there that were not stories, they're confirmed facts. He almost quit the movie because preparation to get into all that Grinch attire took like 4 or 5 hours every day. And his like yellow eyes, those were contacts that like actually really hurt to be in. So he gutted through it for all of us. And I mean, I just watched it yesterday. I love that movie.
Yeah, you know what? It put me on the spot, and I'm trying to think what would be. It's not a movie, but my all-time favorite would have to be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And,
Like the claymation.
yes, absolutely. The Rankin and Bass stop go animation or whatever you call it, and absolutely Burl Ives, man. That every song in there is timeless. You got Yukon Cornelius. I mean, Bubbles,
Silver and Gold.
Yeah, Hermie doesn't want to make toys. Shame on you. Like, oh yeah, they're great. I almost
You
know
call
it
me
word for
cute.
word. Oh man, it's like I actually to the point where I get offended when people try to make Mason Rudolph jokes based off of such a timeless classic. Like, don't do that. Don't. That's just that's not fair. As an actual movie, I don't know. I've watched Christmas Vacation. I've watched Home Alone's pretty perfect though. Like I gotta say,
Yeah. Home Alone it's those 3. You know, that's a really good point. Home Alone, Christmas Vacation, Jim Carrey's Grinch. I can watch any of those during the month of December and just be completely engaged and entertained.
I just was watching Jingle All the Way, and then I went to watch. Now I put myself through some torture the last few days.
That's when he has the action figure, right?
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Turbo Man doll. I got to get the Turbo Man doll, and you know, it's he has some quote that's in there that's ridiculous too. But that just like epitomizes like growing up and like the whole Black Friday kind of people like totally anti-Christmas spirit. One of the worst movies though you could probably put on is Bad Santa. And somehow I end up throwing that on every now and then because it's just so dark, but it still has a good message in the very end of it. Even though the guy, oh God, why can't I think of his name right now?
Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton, just totally nothing redeemable about that guy and his character. Like, just really bad. And somehow
he's good at that role because he's Buttermaker in the Bad News Bears remake.
Yeah. So Christmas Vacation, absolutely. Christmas Story. I still got to watch the newest one. I watched the sequel. So I've been watching like sequels, like the ones I've never watched. Christmas Story 2.
I know what, no free plugs, but I heard that. I didn't hear that. I went to go see Violent Night. That was good. The guy from Stranger Things is Santa. It was good.
Yeah, you're taking my thunder here because I said I'm going to probably watch Die Hard tonight. Finally find some time. I'm just trying to figure out, can I watch that with the kid around? Because it's rated, believe it or not, if I bring this up, top 100 Christmas movies, right? And this will be for our 2%ers that are still left at the very end of this, talking Christmas movies. It's a Wonderful Life, followed by Die Hard.
It's a Wonderful Life, dude. That's a try-hard move when you say, that's my favorite Christmas movie. You cannot tell me that that's your favorite Christmas movie. What's your favorite part? Do you have a memorized line? Do you enjoy the music? It's so boring. It's in black and white. It's not a good movie. I don't understand the whole like, oh, It's a Wonderful Life. And same goes for White Christmas, Ben Crosby, the most overrated artist of all time, Ben Crosby. I can't stand that song. It's not. It doesn't sound good.
Oh man. Well, as we continue to look through a few more of these, hold on. This is great because I was actually having the same debate for music for those who want to hang on when it comes to timeless, like Christmas, whatever. Okay, so Christmas Carol. This version of it, I'm not as familiar with. I'm more of the George C. Scott one.
The Muppets one's really good.
Yeah, Mickey's Christmas Carol is also very good. The animated one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, very underrated. Home Alone's on this list. Rudolph. You're just gonna go through the top 10. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, absolutely. Christmas Story. Here's the other one that'll it might bore you to tears, and this might be blasphemy for people, but Miracle on 34th Street. I'm just that's not one I get into. Then Elf and Gremlins is on here, and then somehow Bad Santa we were talking about. But there's the one that doesn't belong in this spot at number 13 is Scrooged with Bill Murray. That's a top 10 Christmas flick. I don't care what anybody says. That is one of the GOATs. That may be one of Bill Murray's best movies ever. And you got to give an honorable mention to Charlie Brown Christmas also. And if you flip back around, and I know what you were saying about like, you're saying some sacrilege to some people about It's a Wonderful Life. And I say a lot of the same things too when it comes to music. And I say, how dare anyone disparage or besmirch the good name of Mimi, Mariah Carey? She's the queen of Christmas, Burl Ives, the king of Christmas. And if you put on any version of Frosty the Snowman other than Jimmy Durante and his like New York, New Jersey kind of drawl, I don't want to hear it. Those are the songs for me. It's hard to pick a top 5. I put a few out there. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, probably the Christmas Eve, what is it, 1979 Sarajevo, whatever it is.
Santa Tell Me by Ariana Grande is a really good song.
Oh,
it's like the new age classic.
I could definitely get into that. But man, Burl Ives, now my mom was getting me more towards she got me swayed a little bit to Gene Autry, okay? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with Gene Autry, and I could say, yeah, it might be I don't know though. Burl Ives, just there's something with Burl Ives, and then there's also a Burl Ives song that's out there with David Bowie. That's a really good kind of mashup with like Little Drummer Boy in that. So there's a lot of good Christmas music. I'm just not one of those folks that can listen to it year round. Wait till Thanksgiving, and then we could start. Mimi could come out of her cave just like she did in the Macy's Day Parade. But otherwise, don't you say between Thanksgiving and like New Year's, don't you say a damn bad word about her. She has the voice of an angel.
Yeah, she's this nation's symbol for Christmas.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, dude, I think that'll do it. We're so far off the football reservation, but always good to have fun. We're up against it. It's an hour show on a holiday week, so hopefully most of you out there, hopefully you were safe. You didn't get into any kind of shenanigans or trouble or any adverse weather that affected you in any kind of way, shape, or form. And we're both here, myself and Zach, so hopefully we'll be here later this week. We'll do some, or Brian or whoever decides to pop in here. We'll see. Man, I should go back and get Wilcox. He told me just to call him Wilcox, Justin Wilcox, over from the Ravens side, because he got to talk his smack last time with the Believe in Ravens. I should have him back. He was an awesome dude. And I'm just going to say, yeah, now it's time for payback, man. Because, the Steelers split these division games. Ravens, Browns coming up. We might have a shot. Might be an outside shot, but to quote another Jim Carrey movie, you're saying there's a chance. So take it easy, dude. Thanks for joining us, Zach. And we'll do it again, man.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait, brother.
Absolutely. So, folks, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you've been hanging around this long, we'll get your answer to Brian's riddle, to which there was 1,000 comments. And also the one Jag who told me I didn't use a picture of Franco on the podcast artwork. It's like, we talked about Franco. I'm not going to exploit an unfortunate situation just to get us clicks, likes, and views. So to that, my 2%ers.
Hey, how do you throw a party in space?
We need to let people leave it in the comments here then too, or are you just going to give the answer now?
I guess we can let people try to guess. It's a thinker, but it's a great knee slapper.
Oh, awesome! You know what? I think we'll hold on to that one then. This is like the cliffhanger for the 2%ers, and then it's like same bat time, same bat channel, and we'll be back. My name's Joe Kuzma. His name's Zach Celedonia, and until next time, yeah, I had it here somewhere. I had to write it because you had an F-bomb somewhere in here. I had to put you'll see me like got all kind of notes over here. I'm writing all the stuff down to.
Do we go through?
Yeah, we actually do. We sound like we're not prepared. We sound like we're not prepared, even though I told a story with my Gabe's reward card and a college story. Nice. I like it. But I'm going to leave it with this. It was like, this is all the more I had for like a speech one time. It was like one side of an index card, and I freaked some people out that were part of it was a group project, and still just nailed it, brought it home. That might be all the more we have. That's all we need, though. That's all we need. That's all we need is the Gabe's rewards. So until next time. Everyone, take care of yourselves. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And we'll, next time, how do I finish this off? I can't even remember. Be safe, be good. We'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.